So I recently scaled this Australian e-commerce brand right here to $75,409 per month in revenue. And in this video, I want to give you a complete deep dive into this Google Ads case study and into the brand and how we made this happen. Now, this is a very special brand to me because you can clearly see when we really started working on this brand and when we really started taking things to the very next level. I mean, prior to this level with these campaigns that are currently active, at least, they were not achieving any types of sustainable results, and the other campaigns which were live during the previous time, they were recording all types of wonky data. So these numbers you see right here, they were actually double and triple and quadruply getting tracked. From the foundation itself, things were a very big mess, and all they had during the time before we really began work, and this is a client under my Google Ads agency or marketing, but all they had was just a bunch of different campaigns, a bunch of different strategies, from performance max to search campaigns to display campaigns to even dynamic remarketing campaigns. They were all over the place, and as a result, their Google Ads scale was also missing. So we had to kind of start work from the base up with this brand and really make it more simplified and more organized to turn things around. But we did not start with the ad strategy itself. Instead, we started with the landing page setup. Now, if we look at some of these examples right here of similar brands and similar niches, which this brand right here is in the baby shoes niche, we can see that these are the kinds of brands and the overall landing page layout which we were looking into mimicking, because these are the same brands which were constantly dominating the Australian market when it came to Google shopping ads. This brand and this one right here, tinytoesshop.com. Now, starting with this first brand right here, bambinohouse.com, if we take a look at the overall kind of layout of this brand, this is what we were trying to incorporate on a very strategic, broad level. From the colors, what we understood is that their use of these light purplish colors, these light blue colors, meant that they were reaching an audience where it was more of a gentler type of audience. They wanted to see something that was very gentle, that was very warming, and not something too bold and not something too abstract. We wanted to incorporate a similar layout as well to both these brands. And you can see here for tinytoesshop.com as well, it's a lightish red color, and then they also have these other purplish colors. They have a blue color right here, but just very gentle colors. You want to do this first and foremost for your landing page strategy as well, because without the right color scheme, again, your conversion rates with Google Ads will not be very high. If we scroll down now, we can see that in terms of all of the variations, it's a very beautiful design. They have different types of age groups for this product itself, which again, it depends on what products you sell, but it's highly recommended with Google Ads at least to have different types of variations, because what variations do first and foremost is each variation acts as its own individual product. So this black 0 to 6 months product, the shoe, is going to act as its own variation, whereas the 7 to 12 month product is going to act as its very own variation, so on and so forth. And this is very crucial because this means now you can have multiple different products ranking when you just type in one of the main keywords in, for example, baby shoes. You want to have 5 of these listings be your brand's listings instead of just being number 1 or number 2 or number 3 and appearing only one time. But beyond that, if we look right here in terms of description, what we really wanted to incorporate for this brand and to really make it scale is more of a feeling-based approach for the descriptions, because this is a brand where a parent is finding a good product, a comfortable product, a cozy product for their child. It's a lot of feelings involved in here. The last thing you want to do with brands like these is have a bunch of specifications, have a bunch of technical words, because the parents could care less about the technical stuff. I mean, yes, they do care if it's made of leather versus rubber, but that's secondary. What's most important is how this product will make the user feel, and this translates into your Google Ads conversion rates, which is why it's so important to really be taking care of things like these. And then this brand right here, which we also incorporated a frequently asked questions section where all of the main questions regarding the product were answered. They had these unique trust badges, which in Australia, Aussie owned. This kind of badge is very important because Australians love shopping with other Australian brands. They love supporting them. So this kind of approach is a custom-based approach based on the country, but that basically ends with the customer reviews followed by some other similar products. That's simply it. Not too much of a crazy approach in terms of the landing page, and it's similar for this tinytoesshop.com website as well. But this website didn't really have anything in order. As you can see on the left, it's description, and on the right is the add to cart. It's a little bit it all over the place. You want to avoid having a layout like this. Instead, you want to do what Bambino House did right here, where everything is kind of straightforward, direct, top to bottom, so a user doesn't have to kind of switch from the left to the right and get confused. But this was the exact approach we did, because what we wanted to do was, first and foremost, we wanted to get these conversion rates high. Now, during the time before we began work, you might look at this and say it's already 11%, it's great, but that's because the conversion tracking was off. When we started working with this brand roughly 30 days ago and we launched these new campaigns, what we found out was the conversion rate could be much higher, and this was a more realistic number too. So after we fixed conversion tracking issues and whatnot, the conversion rate actually increased drastically, which is what we wanted as well. And this was a direct indicator that these website changes were working. But kind of once we were done with the foundational setup in terms of the landing page and whatnot, this now brought us to the product feed strategy side of things, which for any brand we work with under my agency, which by the way, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But any brand we work with, from the landing page, we move on directly to the product feed strategy. Now, in this situation, when we started working with this brand, what we noticed was, first and foremost, the products themselves, they were not bad at all. In fact, they had decent images, their CTRs were great, but the results were not really there. They were not seeing the kind of scale they wanted to see. It was not profitable as they would have liked. And this all meant the product feed needed to be improved, especially because they had certain kind of issues during that time as well, which were things like promotional overlay on image, even though there was no kind of text or anything like that on the product image itself. So essentially, that's where we began the work. We began to work with the product titles. Now, a key thing you want to understand with product titles is your approach should be SEO plus perceived value for any good product title. This means you have to do keyword research to understand what's the right kind of keywords, buying intent keywords which your customers are looking for and which they want to see actively. And along with that, you need to add high perceived value to your products. Now, in this situation, what we did, we followed a simple formula for the product titles. We essentially, in the started off by writing the brand keyword, plus we added some SEO keywords to the title, and then this was followed by perceived value increasing words. And I'm going to give you a live example of this shortly. But after perceived value increasing words, we ended the title by adding a little bit of more SEO. So to give you an example, let's say you run the brand Amazon. If we were to follow this formula I just went over, you would simply have Amazon at the very front, and then that's followed by baby and toddler diapers. Let's say you're trying to sell diapers, then you would write by the title so far, Amazon baby and toddler diapers. This is followed by lightweight and flexible, which is then followed by machine washable 9 to 14 months. So you can see this is very specific. It's going after certain keywords, as well as adding perceived value to the entire title. Along with that, then we started focusing on the product images. Now, when we did a bit of research during that time, we noticed in the Australian market, at least, that the product images that were working the best, they were product images like this, where it was a very, very bold background, but it was a light color. So essentially, there's not like a real lifestyle background because there's not like out in nature or something like this. This is kind of bland in this situation. But these bold approaches work extremely well because, I mean, even here, when you first look at these listings come up, your attention immediately goes to the yellow product itself. It might not mean that you really like this product itself, or it might not even mean that you think of this ad as professional. However, it did the job of capturing your attention, and that's what these bold background kind of images do, which is exactly what we incorporated or helped incorporate for this brand right here. A lot of these images, you can't really see them, but it's on an abstract colored background. Some of these are pink background colors, some of these are red, dark red, some of these are green, etc. Just very bold colors because it helps with adding to the CTRs and it helps capture attention. But once we were done with all of the image work, then we proceeded onto the back end. Now, with the back end, there's three things we kept in mind and focused on. First, we kept in mind the reviews. We wanted to ensure that our products had reviews and more reviews compared to these competitors right here. Now, this is the US market. These have a lot more reviews, but in the Australian market, it's not that competitive. So we wanted to get that competitive advantage by adding in reviews. And we also added in a few promos and coupons, which were based around the time season. So specific events, specific sales, occasions, etc. All these things we did because we wanted to establish such a strong foundation that we could actually move on to the Google ad strategy side of things, which was the next kind of step within this approach. Now, to get from these levels right here, or to get from this kind of unprofitable, kind of unrealistic numbers right here to these more profitable, more realistic numbers, what we had to do was pretty simple. We had to simplify the approach. I always say this, and I always do this for a lot of the brands we handle as well. If you look in a 90-day period, you can see they had a lot of different campaigns spending X amount of money. All of these campaigns, and in this situation, first of all, they were absolutely not needed. You didn't need 8 different campaigns at this level of scale. But second, they weren't really helping the cause in any way, shape, or form. They were just running on the sidelines. They were just kind of getting a lot of traffic and just kind of splashing around in the water. You could think of it like that. But essentially, when we came in, we wanted to simplify the entire approach and make it so the algorithm had an easier time understanding everything. So we cut everything out from 8 campaigns, we went to 3, and we started with a very simple performance max approach, because this account, although it was not accurate data, it did still have a good amount of data. So we went with the 1-2 approach, which was essentially 1 performance max campaign, which I like to call the full build campaign, followed by 2 search campaigns. One of these search campaigns is a branded search campaign. The other one is a competitor search campaign. We're trying to go after these major competitors, and we're also starting to see some results coming in here. But basically, that was kind of a simplistic approach. Now, this performance max approach in terms of a full build, what I essentially mean is we wanted to keep things direct and straightforward. So we just had one major asset group, and we used all of the historically proven images, logos, videos, headlines, etc. within this asset group, along with search themes and audience signals. Because what we wanted to do is we wanted to only use what's working, and we didn't want to really spend too much time testing. Now, if you're in a situation where you don't even really know what's working, you don't have much data to kind of back it up, then of course you will have to do a little bit of A/B testing, go with the asset group based approach versus a feed approach. But if you have some data at all, it's going to be much better for you to just go after a full build approach like this one, and then from there kind of minimize the things that are not working, get rid of them, and improve it based on those results. But from here now, it's all about scaling. For the scaling strategy, all we're doing is really doing vertical scaling at this point, because we don't have a necessity to add complexity to this simple approach. And when I say complexity, I'm just referring to adding more unnecessary campaigns. The only thing these things do is they end up adding tons of complexity. They make it difficult for your brand to really kind of go after the right audience without overlap. And in this situation, if we don't see some positive momentum in the next few days, we're going to start horizontally scaling, which means then we can add in more campaign tabs. But until then, we will just be increasing the budgets and decreasing the restrictions to make sure these campaigns can really continue scaling profitably. But again, if you run a brand doing $1 million a year, you need extra help scaling your brand to the next level, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a pre-call with me, and let's see if we can potentially work together and make that happen. But check out this video right here on the best ways to scale with Google Ads beyond $100,000 per month in revenue.